Welcome to today's Explainer. I'm Marcus Reed, and along with Irish Brook, we are so glad you're here. Today, we're confronting the ultimate data science paradox. Listen, here is the undeniable truth. Your measurement is always lying to you, every single time, literally. But you know what? Acknowledging exactly where and how it lies to you, that is actually your greatest strength as a data scientist. So today, we're mastering the vocabulary of measuring things, and more importantly, the language of admitting what your measurement simply cannot see.
To really set the stakes here, I want you to imagine a final boss interview scenario. You're sitting in the boardroom, and I'm the stakeholder sliding a shiny new dashboard across the table. I point to this big, bold number and say, hey, our recommendations are working perfectly. Skip rate is down 12%. I look right at you and ask for your immediate thoughts. Now, if your instinct is to smile and say, great, that's good news, well, you're going to want to pay very close attention to this session, because by the end of it, we're going to build the absolutely perfect answer to that exact question.
All right, let's take a quick look at our agenda. 1. Proxies are not truth. 2. Finding signal in the noise. 3. Judging the metric. 4. Our ESL corner covering Spanish traps. And 5. The interview dashboard test.
Okay, diving right into Section 1, proxies are not truth. Admitting what your measurement cannot see. Let's kick things off with our absolute most important word today, proxy. A proxy is something you can measure, used in place of the thing you actually care about, but just can't measure directly. Think about where the word actually comes from, right? If you cannot attend a meeting, someone votes by proxy on your behalf. They're your substitute. Well, in data science, your metric acts as a proxy for actual user behavior.
So let's apply this to the real world. Skip rate is a proxy for enjoyment, but the proxy is never the thing. Think about it for a second. You care if the user actually enjoyed the song, but obviously you can't measure the feeling inside their head. You can only measure if they press the skip button. So skip rate becomes your proxy. But a user not skipping doesn't necessarily equal enjoyment. I mean, maybe they just left their phone in another room.
Let's expand on this a bit. First up is stand-in, which is simply a substitute. It's the plain English twin of proxy. For example, your sparring partner is a stand-in for the real opponent, and on fight night, you find out exactly where the stand-in was wrong. Next, we have label, which is the column a machine learning model actually learned to predict. When someone boasts that a model is highly accurate, you've got to remember, it's only accurate at predicting the label. The label says hearted, not enjoyed, and those are simply not the same thing.
Moving on to Section 2, finding signal in the noise. These are the verbs and nouns used to fight messy data.
On one side of the ring, we have signal. Signal is your useful, predictive information. You absolutely want a strong signal to build a robust model. On the completely opposite side, we have noise. Noise is the random variation in data that carries absolutely zero information. It's just static. Honestly, a data scientist spends basically their entire day fighting the noise, just to find the true signal. To fight that noise, you need these 3 tactical terms. First, to isolate. You separate one factor's effect from everything else, like when we isolated the price effect by holding the promotion calendar fixed. Next is to normalize, meaning to divide by exposure. You can't just compare totals across players with different minutes. You must normalize first to get a per-minute rate. Finally, attributable to, meaning able to be credited to a specific cause. Like, is that revenue spike actually attributable to the marketing email, or is it attributable to a seasonal trend?
Which brings us to the major obstacle to proving causal value: confounding. Confounding happens when something else upstream is also driving your outcome. Because of this hidden variable, you simply cannot confidently credit the effect to your cause. It completely muddies the waters.
Let's use this in a boardroom setting, speaking directly to your stakeholders. You have to be honest with them and tell them, look, retention is confounded. 100 things reach it before your recommendation engine does. Using the word confounded here is a total game changer. It instantly establishes immense credibility because it proves to them that you understand the tangled, messy reality of the business environment. You also absolutely must watch out for regression to the mean. This is the tendency of extreme values in really small samples to drift back toward the average as more data arrives. If a new striker has 0.83 goals per 90 minutes, but that's only off a few games of play, yeah, that is regression to the mean just waiting to happen. As a seasoned data scientist, you know that extreme number is definitely on its way down.
All right, Section 3, judging the metric. We're looking at words of judgment and probability.
Let's quickly double drill these judgment words. First, discrete, meaning separate and individually countable. Baseball is a sequence of discrete events. Just a quick warning here. Discrete with two E's at the end is not the same as discrete with two E's in the middle, which means keeping a secret. Next, beside the point, meaning technically true but totally irrelevant. You could say, distance covered is reliable, but it's beside the point. It measures activity, not value. Finally, verdict, a final ruling. The number is not a verdict on that shot. It's a probability. Never treat a probabilistic model's output as a dangerously final courtroom verdict.
Let's do a rapid-fire review of 3 words returning from our earlier sessions. Odds. That's your formal probability. What are the odds this result holds up? Chances. The informal probability. There's a good chance that's a small sample effect. And tell. An unconscious sign revealing information. Presenting a single number with no error bar, that is a massive tell that you haven't checked your confidence.
Section 4 is our ESL corner. We're looking at Spanish traps and how to avoid the common mistakes that can trip you up in an interview.
Okay, trap number 1 for our Spanish speakers, dropping the third-person singular S. In Spanish, verb endings do the work for every single person, so adding that S in English kind of feels optional, right? Actually, scratch that, it's not optional at all. In English, it is the player scores less, not the player score less. It is a user doesn't come back, not a user don't come back. Dropping that S is an instant giveaway to an interviewer. The model, the user, the player, the verb absolutely must take the S.
Trap number 2 is a very dangerous false friend, the Spanish word informe. It looks exactly like the English word inform, but in English, inform is strictly a verb. You inform someone. The noun you're actually looking for is report. So never say, I gave an inform to the team. That's a trap. You must say, I delivered a report to the commercial team.
Trap number 3, failing to use do support when have is the main verb. In Spanish, you simply say no tiene, but saying he hasn't the best statistics is a direct but incorrect translation in English. You must use do. He doesn't have the best statistics. She doesn't have the data. They didn't have a baseline. Make sure you lock in that do support pattern for sure.
And finally, Section 5, the interview dashboard test. This is it, the final boss.
All right, you are back in the hot seat. I am the stakeholder sliding that dashboard across the table. I say, hey, our recommendations are working perfectly. Skip rate is down 12%. What do you say? Remember what we talked about at the beginning? If you just say, great, that's good news, you failed the test. You haven't shown them you understand the messy reality of the data.
So, here is how you build a massively credible, strong answer step by step. Step 1, that's encouraging, but skip rate is a proxy for enjoyment, a stand-in. Step 2, not skipping isn't exactly the same as liking. Some of that 12% is just phones left in pockets, which is noise rather than signal. Step 3, also if we shipped anything else recently, the effect is confounded and not purely attributable to the model. Step 4, so I treat this as a really good early sign, not a final verdict. Stating exactly where a number lies to you, that builds massive trust.
To wrap up today's explainer, please keep these 3 essential words in your active vocabulary. Proxy, knowing your metric is just a stand-in. Confounding, acknowledging the tangled reality of what actually causes an outcome. And verdict, knowing that data is a probability, not an absolute courtroom ruling.
I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. In your very next meeting, when someone hands you a shiny new metric, are you going to hide behind a false verdict? Or how will you explain exactly where that metric lies to you? Think about it. Embrace the messy truth of the data.
Thanks so much for joining us on this explainer. I'm Marcus Reed, and we'll see you next time.